Hey, second graders, you should have just finished listening to chapter 48, and Roz just got her new foot, so that's very exciting, and everybody kind of banded together. Do you remember who helped Roz fix her new foot? I'll give you a second. So Mr. Beaver was one. Then there were 3 other friends. Do you remember what kind of animal they were? Yep, a raccoon. Do you remember their names? They all rhymed. It was Bumpkin, Rumpkin, and Lumpkin. Let's go check. Yep, it was Bumpkin, Lumpkin, and Rumpkin. And then do you remember the last friend? I'll give you a hint. He came from a tree, so he flew down from the forest canopy. Yep, a woodpecker. And do you remember his name? Trunk Tap was the name of him. Was his name. Let's see. Yep, Trunk Tap. A good name for a woodpecker, right? Because they tap on the side of the trunk. Perfect. Chapter 49, The Flyer. With coaching from his mother, Bright Bill was becoming truly an exceptional flyer. He wasn't the biggest or the strongest, but he was the smartest. You see, he and his mother had started studying the flying techniques of other birds. They'd sit for hours and watch hawks and owls and sparrows and vultures move through the air. Then they'd go up to the grassy ridge, and Bright Bill would practice what he learned. Soon he was diving and swooping and darting and soaring around the island. Adult geese frowned at his flying tricks, but the goslings, they thought he was amazing. Each morning, a gaggle of them would wait on the water for Bright Bill to lead them into the sky. And then, a few hours later, he'd return home to Roz, shaking his tail feathers and honking at his latest airborne adventures. Mama, the other goslings, didn't know what that air-warm rise is, so I found an updraft, and we spent the afternoon circling around and around and hardly flapping our wings at all. Mama, did you see that lightning storm today? We knew there was trouble when the wind started blowing from the north. So we flew down to some shrubs and waited for the storm to pass. Mama, we just tried to fly in formation. We all took turns at the point, but everyone liked following me the best, so I led most of the time. Sounds like Bright Bill is really getting along with all of his friends. Chapter 50, The Button. Ooh, we return back to the button. Do you guys remember what happened the last time we talked about the button? Nothing happened. I made you wonder, and I had all that big build-up, and then nothing happened. I think they got attacked by bears soon after the whole button incident. So chapter 50, The Button. Bright Bill was thinking about the small button on the back of his mother's head. His mother was thinking about it too. They couldn't stop wondering what would happen if that button were pressed. And one day, they decided it was time to find out. Roz sat on the floor of the nest, and her son nervously stood on a stone behind her. "I'm ready when you are," said the robot. "Okay," said the gosling, "here we go." Bright Bill took a deep breath. Click. Roz's body relaxed. Her quiet whirling slowly stopped, and her eyes faded to black. Can you see that? "Mama, can you hear me?" There was no answer. Bright Bill waddled around and looked at his mother's face. Her strange spark of life had gone out. The gosling had never felt more alone. He was ready to switch her back on. But what if she didn't wake up? What if she woke up different? The gosling was afraid to press the button. He was afraid not to press the button. Bright Bill took a deep breath. Click. Roz's body tensed. Her quiet whirling slowly started. Her eyes began to glow. Mama, can you hear me? Hello, I am Rosum, Unit 7134, but you may call me Roz. The robot spoke these words automatically in a language Brightbill didn't understand. So she's speaking, what do you think she's talking? Yeah, she's like speaking English. She's speaking like a human because I think Roz was meant for humans. She wasn't meant for birds. She only learned the language of the birds later on when she was sitting still and watching the animals. His little heart raced. His worst fears seemed to be coming true, but a moment later, her familiar voice returned. The robot said in a language of the animals, "Hello, son. How long was I out?" It seemed like only an instant to me. "You were out for a few minutes," said the gosling as he hugged his mother, "but it seemed like forever to me." 51. Autumn. The days were getting shorter and the air was getting crisper, and one morning Roz walked out to find a layer of frost in the garden. Autumn had come to the island. The tree's leaves, which had been green for the robot's entire life, turned yellow and orange and red, and then they let go of their branches and floated down to the ground. The forest gradually filled with sounds of creatures scurrying through dead leaves. Tree nuts were also falling, thunking onto roots and rocks and occasionally clanging off the robot. The smell of flowers faded as the blossoms withered. All the rich scents and colors of the island were draining away. The animals were also changing. Furry animals were growing more fur. Feathery animals were growing more feathers. Scaly animals were starting to look for new homes. "Yerp, it's cooling off," croaked the frog to another. "Before long it will be time for sleeping." "Yerp, I'd better start looking for a good hole," croaked the second frog. "Have you found one yet?" "Nah," croaked the first frog. "I'll look for a hole next week. For now, I'm going to enjoy the warm sun while it lasts." Yerp. Many of the island's animals were already thinking about their winter hibernation. Frogs, bees, snakes, even bears would soon disappear and spend the next few months resting out of sight. And then there were the birds. Some birds, like owls and woodpeckers, would spend the winter nesting and eating off the island's few remaining edibles. But the migratory birds were preparing for the long journey south to their warm wintering grounds. And among the birds destined to leave were the geese. How do you think Roz is going to feel about Brightbill migrating to the wintering grounds? I don't know, we'll see. It's a little windier out here than I thought it was going to be, but we're going to stay the course and I'm going to keep reading. The flock. Brightbill slowly waddled into the nest. He had a confused look on his face. "Mama, the other goslings said that we have to leave the island soon, and we won't return for months and months. Is that true?" "That is true," said Roz. "You know, these geese migrate south for winter." "Will you migrate with us?" said Brightbill. "I cannot fly or swim, so I will spend the winter here on the island. Can I stay with you?" "I don't think that's a good idea. I think you should migrate with the flock." "How long will the migration take?" said Brightbill. "Where will we fly? When will we be home?" "I don't know," said Roz. "Let's go ask the others." And so the robot and the gosling walked around the pond to where Loudwing and her friends were chatting. "Hello, everyone," said Roz. "Brightbill has some questions about the flock's upcoming winter migration." "And we'd be happy to answer them," said Loudwing. "What would you like to know, little one?" "How long will migration take?" said Brightbill. "Where will we fly? When will we come home?" "It'll take us a couple of weeks to fly south," said Loudwing, "depending on the weather. We'll join other flocks at the beautiful lake in the middle of the great sprawling field," said another goose. "And we'll come back to the island after 4 or 5 months," said someone else, "depending on the weather." Roz always surprises me. So every time I think that she's going to be like worried and say no or be against something, she's always like, "All right, sounds good. Brightbill's got to migrate. He's a duck or he's a goose." As they walked back to the nest, Brightbill said to his mother, "Lately, I've been feeling this strong urge to fly, not just around the pond or the island, but to go on a long flight, a journey." "Those are your instincts," said the robot. All animals have instincts. They help you survive. Do you have instincts? Said the gosling. I do have instincts. They help me survive also. My instincts are telling me to fly south for the winter, said Brightbill. I just wish you could join us. I'm going to worry about you while you're away. Do not worry, I'll be fine, said Roz. How bad could winter be? Interesting. I'm going to leave right there. That's like an ominous tone. The author is like setting us up for possibly a bad winter. So let's think for a second here. What are some things that could make the winter bad? What are some things for us that make the winter bad? So winter could be really, really cold. And during cold winters, what kind of weather do we get? Yeah, lots of snow, lots of ice. What kind of problems could that pose for animals, even animals who hibernate? So I'm going to leave you there, and I think that this week I'm going to add an extra 10-minute segment. So I'm going to read one more today for you so that next week we can really jump ahead, because we only have a few more chapters left, and I want you guys to get to the end of this book. All right. Sorry about the wild hair. It's windy out here. I'll see you soon. Enjoy. And you don't have to listen to these back to back to back. You could listen to one on Monday, and then maybe one on Wednesday, one on Friday. So don't think that you have to sit for a half hour and listen to me read. I break them up into segments so that you can read them and digest them at your own pace. Okay? Miss you guys. Bye.